Welcome to the Optimum Healing State ALS support group. This is a confidential meeting. Anything personal that is shared is private to the meeting. Share the newsletter, share what helps you, share what inspires you, and be respectful. Why we're here and what we're doing here. Our aim is to develop the optimum healing state for living with and fighting ALS-MND. Since ALS is a systemic, chronic degenerative illness that affects body, emotion, and mind, we're faced with a challenge few people understand. This challenge requires an approach which takes into account the overwhelming difficulties we face. We recognize two facts. Firstly, we have health. If we did not have any health, we would already be dead. The fact that our body exchanges oxygen for carbon dioxide is an ongoing act of healing. We are here because we have health and we are here to heal. The aim of this group is to support the movement from health to healthier. The second fact we recognize is the reduction of stress is an act of health. In order to get our mind and emotions in a healthier place, we choose to reduce stress, and at the same time, we face the fact of our illness and mortality. We apply the method of small steps, where we make the smallest choices we can imagine that are healthy for us. If this is a choice is to focus on our breathing or the fact that we are alive, we are acting towards our health. It is essential to make choices which we can succeed at. Living with ALS-MND and reversing the damage it's caused is made up of thousands of small choices. In this group, we focus on these small choices. What we're doing, our success and difficulty, and what we will do. Our body is always healing. By reducing stress and giving ourselves successful choices, we are helping the body to heal. We accept we don't control the outcome of our choices or things beyond our control, but we can make successful choices to help our healing process every day of our lives. And a hello to a few more who joined us. Eric and Sarah, Priscilla and Amy, very welcome. I'll continue on into the guided meditation. The practice of meditation is a process of tuning in. The process of meditation is the practice of tuning in. As you hear this voice, you're tuning into what I'm saying. When you're tuned in, you can understand the attitude and meaning behind the words. You practice meditation, you listen to your environment, you become sensitive to your experience. And at the same time, there can be lots of internal activity, noise, and busyness. Often we get caught up with these inner preoccupations. And in meditation practice, we notice this. When tuning into our inner environment, we have moments of self-awareness. Noticing our self that is aware. Good meditation is continuously tuning in to this awareness, the awareness of ourself. Anything can be used to support the natural process of tuning into awareness. We're using our physical and mental experiences as a means of noticing the act of awareness. By noticing the act of awareness, we notice the self of awareness, our being of awareness. So by following my words and being aware of their meaning, you notice that you are aware. And that's a mental tuning in. By looking at the clouds, the sky behind, or the inside of your eyelids when they're closed, you can notice that you're aware of yourself seeing. So you're aware of yourself. And it's to notice this step. Listening to sounds of nature, music, random noise, or tinnitus whistle. Notice you're aware of what you're hearing. Music sometimes isn't the best one because it makes us emotional and we can become preoccupied by the emotions it arouses. But still, we can use that as an object of meditation and notice ourselves listening to the music or random sounds. And we can notice the effect they have on us. But it's to notice that we are aware of the experiences of listening. Paying attention to the movement of air into and out of our lungs. Whether we're on a machine and it's regulated or not, doesn't matter. We're paying attention to the sensation, the experience, or being aware of the experience so we can notice ourselves being aware. Or feeling the weight of our body, the contact points it has with chair or bed. Let's notice these sensations that we have in the present. When we notice them, we're aware of them. We can notice that we are aware in the present. Often we have reactions, emotions, and thoughts. Their energy captivates us, even though we want different. We become aware of that too, and choose to notice ourselves being aware. So when we become aware of a distraction, we can keep our awareness on the distraction and welcome it in, or we can return to our object of meditation, whether it's sight, sound, or sensation, it doesn't matter. There's something deeply peaceful about self-awareness. In the act of awareness, we experience unconditional calmness, acceptance, and the knowledge or insight that we are alive. So we'll take a silent minute. Just notice what's happening in your mind and be aware of that, and notice that you're being aware. And try and remain noticing yourself being aware and relaxing and opening to that. And then if your mind gets called off, find it's distracted again, come back to this. Notice that you're aware of being distracted and try to keep your attention on the fact of you being aware in the present. You're all very welcome. Be here. Sanjay, Amy, Priscilla, Pam, Eric, John X, all very welcome. It's great to see you. So if you don't know, I had a little accident last week. So I broke my elbow, and badly enough, wasn't a little fracture, it was completely off. So they put metal in and tied it back together again. So we might end up early. We might end up finishing up earlier today. We'll just see how it goes. There's no reason to have any stress. I'm not going to put myself under any. And I ask you not to as well. Yeah. It's still a bit ouch. It's still a bit ouch. And I'm still on painkillers and stuff and all sorts of things. I'll just check in with you first to see if anybody has any questions or anything you want to bring up. I have a couple of things for you anyway. But yeah, just to give you a chance. So if something turns up later, then just shout. Yeah. Also, I had a little bit of a shock. And yeah, it's sort of been interesting, to be honest. I'm not anywhere near as upset as I would normally be, In fact, it hasn't really affected my mood very much at all. Of course, it has affected me. And I've got a short story. I don't think I read it out to you before, did I? It's quite short anyway. And I'll be doing a follow-up piece. So this is something for the next newsletter. And I have it here somewhere. So I'm just going to read it out. So this is a piece I wrote about falling off the bike a few weeks ago. So let's see. Yeah, this one. And let's see if I can get that a bit bigger. How do you do that? Few sounds like. No, you should be. What about this? Oh, that's the alpha button. Where? No. Each. God, it shouldn't be this difficult to find something like that, should it? I don't know. Okay. Oops. Upstairs. I don't know. Okay, I'll just. Oh, here, Zoom. Right. Right, okay. Um, so, uh, yeah, it's a short one. I fell over. Today, I fell over at the shop getting off the bike. I'm okay. I had been stable enough cycling. Well, it's electric powered, so I don't have to do the work, and my legs get some light exercise. I get where I'm going a lot faster than walking. It's cheaper than a car. 4-inch wheels with full suspension and disc brakes can be exciting or relaxing. And I only once ran out of battery near home. Originally, it took me 6 months before my legs were strong enough to get on and off without falling over. I pulled up outside the shop, navigating the usual dangerous hazards, standing and walking around. There was a slope to the courtyard, and I pulled up with the wall on my left, so I chose to dismount to the right where there was lots of space. I normally dismount on my left leg, which is stronger. My right foot went down, and as I swung the left foot over the saddle, my right leg, the first place of muscle loss in 2010, couldn't cope, and I fell backwards. I managed to turn as I fell and landed on my upper arm and shoulder. Someone shouted and came over. I just lay there, paused. The man asked if I was okay. I haven't broken anything, I told him. I sat back against the ledge of the shop's window and took my time. The man finished pumping the petrol. I passed by again, asking again if I was okay. It was kind of him. Sometimes people think I'm drunk or worse, especially when my brain is going slow due to exhaustion, or I can't speak clearly, or when I'm concentrating so intensively on putting one foot in front of the other that I can't interact, not in the space to socialize. I appear ignorant or rude. I wanted to tell him that I suffer from a muscular disease. It's so difficult for anyone to understand. It's a lot more than that. Sometimes I want to shout, but that anger is bad for my health. I relax with my breathing. I'm lucky I'm standing. I continue into the shop and return to the bike. No contraction of muscle or emotion. No hesitation getting on the bike and powering away. I was still in that relaxed state I had activated. I arrived safely home, sore but not damaged. I learned a long time ago that the panic around falling leads to slower recovery. The more relaxed I can be, the quicker my recovery. I have a degenerative motor neuron disease, ALS, and a life-threatening autoimmune illness, CPGA. This is one of the strategies I use to live. My name is Lazarus Ember. So it was a short piece that needs a little bit of editing still. And I need to get something to drink. I'm after forgetting it. I'll be back in a minute. So, last week, then on the Monday, I was on the way down to the sauna, because the sauna's been giving me such good results in terms of my breathing improvement. And I was checked there a couple of weeks ago in the respiratory clinic, and they were so happy with how clear my lungs were. They're really, really impressed. So I was on the way down and on my bike, and I noticed at one point that there was a bit of the wind pushed me a little bit at one point, and I was taking it easier. I was going slower. I was going in the second electric gear instead of the third. So yeah, I was going a bit slower, being a bit more careful. And where I live, the wind is completely, or was the wind was completely blocked by the building. So I had no sensation of the wind being bad, when I got on the bike. I did notice being pushed a little bit, and so I took it easier. And there's one part of the cycle where I'm cycling down by a kind of a short estuary, little small estuary, long river mouth, and so that's just going inland, and so I'm going in along that, and then I turn left. I join the main road, and I turn left, joining a bridge going over the river. And I'm also bouncing. There's a cycle path which I'm on, so I'm bouncing down off that onto the road. And I've done this, 100 times, whatever, more. And anyway, when I came off the cycle path, bounced off the cycle path onto the road, apparently what happened was that the bike has a kind of a face to it, as a sort of big panel where the battery is. So that's a real flat surface. And what one of the witnesses said is that he could see the bike was actually pushed from underneath me. And I, went down then on my elbow. And I was going from this everything's fine into, in a mess on the road. And I was going to take my time, all right. And after a couple of seconds of lying there, I thought to myself, at least nobody's run me over. Because I was in the middle of the road, and there was traffic coming and going in both directions. So I was really thankful that at least nobody's run me over. They pulled me off the road then, and pulled the bike off, and rang for an ambulance. And it was a lot of help. There's 3 or 4 people around before the ambulance even got there, and one of them was a doctor, and another one was a nurse. And I really wanted to sit up, and so I was finding it a little bit. The road path was cold. It was a bit damp, and it was cold. I had a good coat on, so at least that. And it was interesting. There's a couple of people had their hands on my legs actually, and it was really interesting because I could really feel their hands on my legs, and I think that actually that helps me feel that, you know, I was able to experience my own body, being in my body more, and it being okay because there was no pain in my legs, just that kind of human contact. It was interesting. You know, I was aware of it at the time that, yeah, I can feel these people's, you know, hands on my legs, and there was something comforting about that. Um, and I knew there was something broken down in my forearm area. I knew that. I've had breaks and accidents before, so you kind of get a feeling for it. You know, usually breaks have a sharper sensation to them that continues. Maybe not a fracture, but you know, a real break where it's come off and going into your flesh. You know, so it hurts. And so yeah, eventually the ambulance came, and wasn't too long, and yeah, and so they cut off some of my clothes, and you know, and so they're asking me if I had this, that, or the other wrong with my elbow. I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with my elbow other than whatever has just happened to it. So they could see, you know, what do they call it? Malplacement, I think they called it. You have these nice technical words, don't they, to describe things. Malplacement, you know, there's some bone sticking in the wrong direction. Yes, malplacement. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty much it, really. I mean, I went in, a couple of X-rays. It was really clear. It was a standard kind of break. In order to operate on me, they needed a bed in a ward. So I had to wait until I think it was the middle of the night before I was scooted off into a ward. And I was operated on the first thing the next morning at 8:30 or 9. And that was the Tuesday. And I briefly saw you on the Tuesday evening. So yes, that was a week ago. Here I am. Life is going on. I am a bit impacted on it. Like I'm resting a lot and stuff, and you know, I've changed some of my protocol has changed. I can't get it wet, so at the moment, I'm not doing any sauna stuff. I'm not doing any heat treatment. But I'm staying very warm. And I'm still using the chi machine. And that's really helping me to maintain myself and have better health. I suppose that, you know, one of the interesting things is and was the reason why I read out that first piece about falling off the bike, you know, the safe fall I had, and just that attitude of really being present and of relaxing into the present. And so when the present is a disaster, I'm not actually suffering it in a disaster mode. And then all that you know, we're suffering it in disaster mode, all that emotional trauma we have, that all gets imprinted in our cells as well. And that's all, you know, 20 years ago, that was really new age stuff. Now that's actually all science. That's what happens in the epigenetic layer of the cell. All the experiences gets imprinted on all our living cells. And so the better we can manage that, the healthier our cells and our life is. So, the methods that we discuss and practice here, this is the living proof of them, if you like, if you know what I mean. I remember somebody on here before mentioning how she had a fall in the garden, and she just stayed looking at the grass. She just stayed looking at the grass. Because, of course, it's interesting when your nose is there unexpectedly, and your nose is in the grass, and you really look at it from that point of view, and you're just, that's it. You're conscious of what you're seeing, the grass from this point of view. I'm conscious of no car has driven over me since I've had this accident. And so that our consciousness is absolutely key to our transformation, to our healing, and whether we consider it healing the past, which is present, or healing our present, health issues, it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. I think once we're focused on a healing process, and that healing process has a degree, an element of openness in it, then it will work. I mention openness because if we're not open, not totally open, let's not go to extremes, but we have a degree of openness, then or when we don't have that, openness, then we're closed, and that closed itself is an expression of trauma or ill health. That being closed is. So being closed isn't except for specific circumstances, isn't a useful attitude to have towards healing. When we're open, we have the chance of everything can support us, like looking at some blades of grass or whatever it might be. And that openness allows us to go deeper in our healing process. Because if we're meeting our trauma, past or present, doesn't matter, if we're meeting our trauma as part of our healing process, we need to remain somewhat open in relation to that trauma. If we're not, the healing won't take place. You have to have, and the more openness we have, the deeper our healing capacity is. So, and it doesn't matter where you are, that's okay. The important thing is to engage with where you are. There's no point in saying that he or she is more open and has more healing capacity than me. Well, that's a thought and it's a judgment, and that thought or judgment isn't a practice of healing. So we're talking about the practice of healing. And we will have thoughts and feelings like that. But we can recognize them, that, okay, that's not actually helping me. Is there a thought or feeling in this circumstance which can help me? So, for instance, our love for our lives, our husbands, our wives, our children, our desire just to be alive. Simply that, our innate desire to be alive. To use that and to find that as a place of rest. But because we're disabled in different ways, our desire to be alive is often one of the things which is hurt and traumatized within us. So we're then looking at being alive in a way which is practically different from what it was in the past, because practically we can't do the same things. But the heart of our desire and our love and our care, that hasn't stopped. But we're looking at new ways of living and expressing those things. Because if we continue to express our love, we still have a life of love. We continue to express our sense of care. We continue to live a life of care and all the rest. And that's what we share then with the people around us as well. It's what they feel, it's what they experience. And it's being said, there's nothing new about people facing their mortality and going through a profound change in their lives, because people realize that some of the things that they held on to were actually holding them back. And those things that we held on to, they're often things that we're also closed about. Even when we talk about holding on to something, our hand is closing on to that thing. We're not going to let go of it. And when we open, all the good stuff is still there, because that's not something that is, it doesn't come from that place of tight control. Yeah, it doesn't come from there. It comes from a deeper place within us. I don't know. That might be it for today. Are we 43? So yeah, I think that's it for me for today. Well, we can do some silent meditation together. Let's wrap up with some of that. And I won't say anything else. Be here next week. I've run out of steam. So I was going to invite you to close your eyes and relax. And as you relax, you breathe out and you let go. And for every thought or feeling that you have, or every sensation, and just accept that this is what you're experiencing right now. It's what you're feeling, what you're thinking right now. And you don't have to do anything. You're just choosing to relax. And you're not really going to try and change anything. Just practice relaxing deeper and deeper. And as more things come up and we accept them, we relax, we go into deeper and deeper states of our being. Every time we accept something, we take a deeper step into our own healing state. Distractions aren't a problem. They are just steps deeper into our healing.